What's up, everybody? I'm meteorologist Andrew Myers, bringing you guys your daily hail forecast, sponsored as always by C3 Group, Merlin Law Group, American Contractor, and Atlas. They are linked in the description to this video, so go ahead and check them out. We're a little late on the forecast today, but that's because there's a ton to look at and a ton to talk about. I'm sure a lot of you guys are here because you want to know about Hurricane Ian. We're going to get into all of that. But first, got to give you guys your hail and wind forecasts. We do have a wind risk possible in New England, so we'll talk about that real quick. And then it's the Florida show. All eyes on Florida and the approaching Hurricane Ian. Going to go into the what, where, and when, and kind of touch on the beginning of that before our team heads out to go ahead and chase it in Florida. So stay tuned this week. We're going to have a lot to talk about covering Hurricane Ian. But before we get into all of our weather, got to get into our upcoming events first. So we had our OU K-State tailgate last Saturday, and then the only upcoming event for right now is going to be the RCAT MRCA Roofing Conference at the Fort Worth Convention Center in Texas. And that is going to be this week, September 27th through the 29th. So we've been talking about it for a little while here. If you guys have already made your travel plans, we're looking forward to seeing you there. And if you haven't, get on out to Fort Worth and say hello to the Hail Trace crew. Then yesterday, we had a scattering of storm reports, most of them sub-severe, but we did get a couple of wind gusts through the DFW area as well as out through Arkansas and Louisiana. Then jumping on up into Wisconsin and Michigan, got even more wind gusts scattered through the area down through Milwaukee, all the way to up to the west of Green Bay, so plenty to go around there. And then last but not least, just a couple blips of severe activity all the way from Tennessee up into Pennsylvania and the East Coast. So got a little bit to talk about, lots of reports on there, but a lot of it did stay below severe limits as we've been seeing for quite a while now. So for our storm system setup for the next couple of days, here's what we got going on. We got that ridging pattern moving in behind this trough. This is what's going to bring us some severe weather up through New England into today. As that moves off, we kind of lose our chances of seeing anything associated with an overall system, because you get that cold front swinging off of the East Coast and then, that high pressure coming in behind it. But into mid to late week, we'll see another trough start to move through the Pacific Northwest there. As that makes its way through, we'll see if we can get any severe weather potential out of that through Thursday. But right now, it's pleasant across most of the U.S. because of that high pressure area. The only real area of concern for land-based severe weather is going to be up through New England here, through New York, all the way up into Maine. We got that low pressure system. You can see it spinning away as it moves off the East Coast. We'll see that start to produce some gusty winds here and there later this afternoon. Then into what everyone is talking about right now, through Cuba and then up into Florida. We've got Hurricane Ian starting to take shape here, moving up into the Gulf of Mexico. Now, as it does, we're going to see some potential intensification on that, and then some models are hinting that it's going to track up towards Florida. So we're going to talk about all of that here towards the end of the show. Stay tuned for that. Current temperatures are going to be in the 80s and 90s through much of the south, but much more pleasant fall-like weather through the Ohio Valley and through the, Colorado Rockies there. So lots of us are sitting in pretty nice weather, dry, cool, a little bit more humid once we get down towards Florida, obviously. Got a tropical system headed that way. But up into New England, it's pretty dry. We don't have a lot of instability, so no hail chances for you. But with that low pressure system tracking through, we got strong enough upper level winds that we can get a gust or two out of this system. So as it tracks off to the east, there it is by 5 p.m. Eastern time, making its way into Burlington and Buffalo with the potential for some severe gusts here and there. Then as it continues off into Maine, it's going to start to weaken towards the midnight hour, and then we'll start to see much quieter of a night moving through the New England area. So no severe hail expected today. Again, just not enough instability out of those storms, but we do have a wind chance for you guys up through New England here, and then we're also including Florida down in that with, again, our hurricane potential. So for anyone through Maine all the way down into really the Waterton area, I think, or I guess it's Montauk, whatever, all through New York there, we got a low end chance to see some gusty winds with those storms. So Burlington, you guys are in that risk. Then down into Florida and Cuba. We do have a risk of severe gusts with Ian as it continues to intensify. Currently, it is a Category 1 hurricane, intensifying up into the Gulf of Mexico where we got that bathwater that's just been waiting for something to move into the area. So if you guys are in or around Havana, Cuba, you're already starting to see the impacts of that storm tracking up through you guys. So, I mean, high-end chance of seeing severe gusts with the main bulk of Hurricane Ian tracking through. Key West, low-end chance of seeing anything quite yet, but then once it tracks into your area, we'll see those chances start to pick up quite a bit. But we do have a risk for you guys to potentially see some impacts starting up with those outer bands of that storm. This is what that looks like on our future radar here. It cuts off right there, but you can start to see, again, those outer bands picking up through Miami, through Fort Myers, and then it's going to continue up towards Tampa, and that's kind of what we're all watching and talking about right now is will it hit Tampa? So there it goes, up towards Tampa by midnight, starting to get those outer bands once again. And you know, if you guys are on the right side of that storm, it's already moving up to the north. The bands on the right side are also moving up to the north. So those coupled together tends to get you some pretty strong winds. And we could also potentially see some storm surge impacts through the west coast of Florida by, you know, midnight. And then, you know, moving into Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we're going to see that continue to track up through the Florida peninsula, bringing some potential tropical impacts. So tomorrow didn't say anything about hail because there's really no chance to hail, but there is that chance for wind. So there you go, all the way through the Florida peninsula. You got a chance to see some gusty winds through the area, leaving it at a moderate now because of timing, not because of really the, you know, fact that a hurricane is moving over you guys. Probably going to get some gusty winds here, but when is the case. So moderate chance for Tampa and Fort Myers to see some severe winds into tomorrow. And then as Ian continues to make its way over you guys, you should see some damaging winds starting to pick up. So moving into hurricanes, we've actually got two areas of concern. Ian obviously is the one everyone's watching, but we also got this guy that's making its way through the central Atlantic right now. You can start to see that developing in that little circular shape, starting to see potential for that to form into our next tropical disturbance. But Ian, here we go. So right now it's moving up through the Caribbean, across Cuba. So again, Havana, you guys are going to start to see the impacts of that today. You already are with those outer bands. This is that loop that's been forming over the past few hours. You can really see it starting to intensify with those central clouds. You'll see them start to go up. There they go. And as we see that, you know, continued convection forming near the center of that storm, start to see that nice symmetrical shape. That is Ian intensifying into the Gulf of Mexico. So we're going to talk about the track of everything, but before we do, I kind of want to talk about the cone. So a lot of people have questions about the cone of uncertainty, as we call it, or the cone track of the storm. It is not the size of the storm, it just describes the area that the center could fall into. So, you know, if it's real wide, that just means that the center of the storm could be anywhere within that cone. Okay, so it doesn't, again, it doesn't convey storm size. As it gets larger, it just conveys uncertainty in the model tracks. All right, so as it tracks away, it starts to get wider with that uncertainty and it starts to get farther out in time. So with that, we're going to take a look here at the forecast track of Ian as well as what all the models are saying. So right now we got 85-mile-an-hour winds on this Category 1 hurricane tracking north-northwest at 13 miles an hour. So making some good speed. You know, if they start to move too slowly, you start to see them weakening themselves. So making good pace as it moves up towards Cuba, expected to intensify to a Category 3 storm at 120 miles an hour as it makes its way across Cuba. Then, again, it's moving up towards Tampa, and that's the big question mark right now. We've had, again, a lot of uncertainty models, so we could see the center of this storm anywhere within this cone. Okay, so all the way from Fort Myers down into the Gulf of Mexico could be the eye of Ian. But right now, the center of that is taking it towards Tampa, moving it into the area to Category 2 hurricane status at 105 miles an hour. Then once it moves up and makes landfall in more rural Florida, we've got 65-mile-an-hour winds forecasted, and then quickly becomes a subtropical low moving up into Georgia. So watching it closely for Florida, the Panhandle all the way into Peninsula has got a chance of seeing tropical impacts. Okay, so this is what we call spaghetti plots. It's just all of the model tracks put into one nice, pretty graphic. So right now, it's got pretty good uncertainty, or pretty good certainty, I should say, as it moves up into Cuba, right? Everything's kind of staying nice and together. But then once we move up into the Gulf, that's when things start to spread out a little bit. You got the WRF model all the way out to the west, and then you got more models all the way out to the east showing this track of this storm. So then the GFS is the one that we've kind of been watching along with the European model. Those are starting to show it heading more towards the east of, or towards the west coast of Florida, an eastward track. And with that, we could see some impacts along the west coast all the way from Fort Myers up through Tampa and into Clearwater. Then moving up into the Panhandle by Friday morning, that's when we start to see models spreading more out, but all of them are showing them moving through Florida or through Georgia and then taking an eastward turn. So we're watching this all closely to see mostly where it's going to make landfall. If Tampa is where it makes landfall, and again, there is uncertainty in that, all right, we just kind of want to talk about what the impacts would possibly be. Tornadoes are a potential with any hurricane. You start to see those spin-ups. So along the west coast of Florida should be, paying attention to potential tornado impacts. Storm surge through Tampa right now is expected to be possibly 5 to 10 feet. You guys are in the Bay Area here, so as you get that water getting pushed up along the right end of that storm, you start to see more flooding potential. So storm surge and flooding right now are both high potential to see either one of those. This should say high, not extreme. But 10 to 15 inches of rainfall is possible by Thursday with this storm as it tracks through. And then wind damage. If the eye wall hits you, you guys could see up to 100-mile-an-hour winds, which obviously will cause some damage. But will it make landfall in Tampa? That's what we're watching. We're going to continue to watch as this storm tracks through. Frank, Derek, and Allie are all headed out there into the next couple of days. So they'll be tracking through Tampa, Sarasota, Florida area. I think, Frank, is where you guys are currently aiming, but we're going to obviously have that updated as these forecasts continue to update. So we're going to keep you guys in the loop for what's going on, but right now here is our probability of 40-mile-an-hour winds, tropical storm force, and that's what we're going to leave you with here. So by Tuesday afternoon, tomorrow, we got a chance to see potentially some gusty winds through Miami all the way up into Tampa. Then as the storm continues up to the north and starts to make that eastward turn, we're going to see chances go up through Fort Myers, through Cape Coral, through Clearwater to potentially see those tropical storm force winds increasing. Then again, as it continues up to the northeast through Thursday afternoon, Clearwater, Fort Myers, Cape Coral, Tampa, again, all of you guys have a pretty solid chance along the west coast of Florida to see tropical storm force winds associated with Hurricane Ian. Then once it starts to kind of decrease and dissipate, once it moves over land, we'll see those colors start to kind of decrease again off to the north through Georgia. But at the end of the day, find your city on this map. That's your chance of seeing some tropical storm force winds with Ian as it tracks through the area. So we're going to have lots of updates for you guys. We're going to go live on TikTok. Derek, Frank, and Allie are going to be doing all sorts of lives if they get internet coverage, and if not, I'll be here to tell you guys what's going on. So go ahead and follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and TikTok. Hit See First on Facebook so you never miss a live video. Hit the notification bell on YouTube so you never miss a live video. And make sure to follow us during all this hurricane coverage. Then if you want to get in contact with us, you can call us at 855-334-4245. You can also email us if you'd rather at info@hailtrace.com or check out hailtrace.com for more details. And we're going to keep you updated as always. But for now, I'm meteorologist Andrea Myers. Thanks for watching.